But I'm in this odd position of being in this business, this community where the idea is that everyone wants their voice to be heard. And for years and years it has been my voice, the voice of the straight white male that has been the norm, the majority. And now there is a push to change that. I believe in the cause, I do. I want an evening on the field as much as anyone else. But I'm kind of stuck feeling like an outsider. Wanting to help out, but feeling like maybe I should just bow out.
Recently, I decided that it was time to change up the one or two sentences in the About Me byline at the top of my Tumblr blog. But I ended up staring at the screen blindly for what seemed like eons. Has it ever happened to you? It's amazing how we're supposed to fit a lifetime's worth of ideas, interests, experiences, and everything that makes us who we are into a cute little sentence or two. Anyway, after backspacing 10 or so different times, I finally settled on something short, sweet, to the point, and maybe with a slight shock factor. 22, caver, rock climber, hummus eater, HSV positive. And just like that, my status as a herpes haver was edited on my blog for the entire world to see. I haven't always been so casual about my STD status. I remember the night I found out I had it, lying in my mother's bed while she prayed aloud to God that may he forgive me for my sins. Yeah, she did that. I felt like my whole world had come crashing down around me. I had had sex maybe 3 times ever and almost immediately lost any chance of ever being bangable for the rest of my life. I cried a lot in that first year. I hated myself. I hated the virus. I hated the boy who gave it to me even more. What if I had wanted to experiment in college? Maybe I wanted to know what a one-night stand was like, or maybe at the very least, I wanted the ability to be having sex or not having sex of my own volition. In my room, I opened up Tumblr, and why Tumblr of all things, I don't know. But my heart started beating faster and faster as I typed herpes into the search bar and just clicked go. I don't know what I expected to find, but I know that every fiber of my being expected it to be bad. But instead that night, I stumbled headfirst into a community of confident, incredible, educated, sex-positive women who also happened to have herpes. And the more I learned, the more shocked I became that I could have gone so long without knowing how damn common it is. And during that time, a lot of emotional healing happened. Slowly at first, but then more and more rapidly. After a couple weeks, I outed myself in a post on my blog, which was a really small thing, because only a couple followers actually knew me in real life, but I felt 100 pounds lighter in an instant. Soon after that, I experimented with telling a couple coworkers, and then a couple more, and then a couple more, and then a couple more, and I just became addicted to casually mentioning it in conversation because I wanted to normalize the virus. And if sharing that on my blog byline can change even one person's mind about people with STDs, I've done my job. I look back at my boyfriend as the officer leads me away from him. Once alone, he asked me if I was there on my own free will, if I was being forced to do anything, if I was okay. My mind was spinning. How was this happening? I'd been here before. I'd been abused before. When I spoke out before, it only made things worse. And this time it was different. I actually loved him. Surely he wasn't trying to hurt me. It was my fault for getting him going and then wanting him to stop. So I replied, "Yes, sir. Everything's fine. He's my boyfriend." He led me back to my boyfriend's truck and told us the park was closing, but to have a good night. We thanked him and drove away. Moments later,
I was sexually assaulted. For so long, I looked back on that moment and wished I would have told the truth. He would have taken me home and I wouldn't have been a victim again. That's what I was. A victim. For so long, that's all that I thought that I was. A victim. I was a victim after a boyfriend sexually abused me in middle school for well over a year. And then again when another boyfriend thought that my past gave him the right to do worse. It was my entire identity. It haunted me. It consumed me. People ridiculed me for it. I felt like trash for it. I wasn't just a victim. I made myself a victim. It was my fault. But over the years, the growth of advocacy for victims like myself, I began to realize that victim was just a small part of my identity. The larger part was that I was a survivor. I made it through my circumstance and created a new life. A life where I was in control and I didn't let anyone push me beyond my personal limits. I was in control and I was not taking shit from any guy ever again. I could help people who'd been through similar things. I could even help people realize the warning signs and get out before it was too late. Not only am I a victim, I'm a survivor. I'm an advocate. I am an ally. I'm a woman who demands respect. I will no longer cower when a man looks at me, and I will no longer lie to justify the actions of those who hurt others. Today, I wouldn't be afraid to tell that officer what was really happening. Because I understand what was happening. Sexual assault can be many things, and I want people to know that it's not always a stranger. You can fight back. You're a survivor. A lot of survivors like to deny that victim is a part of their identity. It will always be a part of my identity. It's a part of my past. It's a part of who I am today. If I'd never been a victim, I never would have become a survivor. I'm more than what happened to me. I am how I overcame my circumstance. I am strong. I am an ally. I am an advocate. I am a shoulder to cry on. I am an educator. I'm a survivor.
I used to be ashamed to admit parts about myself. The embarrassing parts, anyway. I really felt that people would judge me because I was a 19-year-old who enjoyed something most other kids my age deemed to be childish or silly. Well, then I got into those conversations in my head about, no matter what they think, or should I stop liking this? Neither of those is positive to my opinion of myself. But I was led to two answers. Either give it up, or hide it and don't tell people. How could I not accept the fact that I enjoyed something others didn't and that was okay? Why can't I watch anime? Alright, I'm here to admit that I love anime, and I don't care that my friends will laugh at me when I say that, or judge me because a lot of anime has boobs. People judge me based on how they see the world, not how I see the world, or what's important to me. My identity isn't something to hide from. I realize it's not as serious as some other identifiers, but it's mine. And I will take that action-packed 22-minute episode out of the 9 seasons with 52 episodes each over people's bullshit any day. Yes. I love it. I choose you, Pikachu. If anyone's free after this, I'm thinking about rewatching some Inuyasha. You're welcome to join.
Yeah.
It was 2 surgeries, 1 missed year of college, and countless days stuck in bed, and too much pain to move, and more medications than I can remember. Before my parents suggested that I register through my school's disabled student services. And even so, my first thought was, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to identify myself as disabled. It was so much easier just to identify my illness as something I was suffering through. I have endometriosis. Rather than admitting that it was such an integral part of my daily life by calling myself disabled. Despite the fact that I'd been dealing with crippling, ever-present pain for 2 years. I still wasn't ready to admit that this gnawing beast inside my abdomen might never go away. So I filled out the papers for the disability office, and I sent them in. And it was the right decision. Ultimately, it meant that I couldn't be penalized when there were days I couldn't make it to class. And slowly but surely, I became less uncomfortable identifying myself as disabled. It seemed less like a death sentence and more like a way of just acknowledging that my illness is a part of me, for better or worse. Especially after I started walking with a cane, recognizing my disability as part of my identity just seemed like a natural and necessary step. Since then, I've had 2 more surgeries, one of which may actually really improve the quality of my life. I've traveled hundreds of miles to see a specialist in my illness. I've thrown out enough empty pill bottles to supply a pharmacy for weeks. But more than that, I've gotten so much help and support from my friends and family members in dealing with the day-to-day reality of my illness. I'm not saying that I'm grateful for my endometriosis. I wish it would disappear every single day. But I can say that becoming a disabled person has taught me who my true allies are. And it's helped me realize that I'm stronger than I would have ever thought possible.
I don't know what happened. Maybe he just got way into his book. He must have thought I'd already gotten off, and when he got to a stop, he just left. I didn't even notice until a few stops later. Everything around me started looking unfamiliar. Everyone around me was unfamiliar. I was just suddenly paralyzed with fear, which was weird. I remember being very confused about that because I was supposed to be this independent person. I could take on anything, but here I was. I knew maybe 10 words of English at that point. I was in a strange place with strange people, and I couldn't shake the idea that I was in a room full of people and not one of them could understand what I was saying. It was the first time I realized how different I was. I didn't see myself as Mexican or American. I just didn't think like that. I saw myself, I guess, as, I don't know. Maybe I didn't see myself. I guess I just saw everyone else. It's weird. I have a lot of nightmares where I'm back in the subway car and I'm telling all these people that I'm lost and I just need to find my dad. None of them can understand me. I'm yelling and I'm screaming and I feel hot tears on my cheeks. But then I see the lights passing by really quickly. It's a universal wonder. The only kind that any of us can really understand. You know?
And I think you're right.